الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد, welcome students of knowledge, طلاب وطالبات العلم, to this course which we ask Allah to make as a means of benefit and to make it in the scales of good deeds for all of us. And we thank Allah for gathering us together in this gathering for the sake of seeking knowledge and getting closer to Allah. And we thank Allah for guiding us to the great blessing of seeking knowledge. Wallahi, when you look at the people around you, you see the different things that people are busy with. People are busy with, many people are busy with dunya, some are busy with haram, others are busy with halal. But when you really look deeply, we can appreciate the great blessing that Allah has made us busy with knowledge and granted us a passion and an interest in seeking knowledge of the deen. This is a blessing which is much more valuable than anything else. As many of the Sahaba, many of the Salaf, such as Ali ibn Abi Talib said, and others, that العلم أغلى من المال, that knowledge is much more precious and valuable than money or any material benefit. So we thank Allah for granting us just the mere interest and passion for knowledge. And part of that is these types of courses and lessons and gatherings, which are one of the greatest blessings in our lives. Secondly, we thank all of the brothers and everyone who was involved in setting up these lessons, as well as everyone who offered encouragement or a dua or a kind word, and everyone who has put in a great deal of effort to organize these sessions. May Allah reward them and put all of their efforts in the scale of good deeds. Inshallah, today we'll be talking generally about how to learn Arabic before we start the actual content next week, inshallah. And before we speak about Arabic specifically, we'll speak briefly about seeking knowledge in general. Why should we seek knowledge, and what are some of the virtues and benefits of seeking knowledge? If you look at the text of the Quran and the Sunnah, and what has been narrated and reported to us from the statements of the Sahaba, and the Salaf and the ulama in general, we see that there is a great level of importance put on seeking knowledge, such so that knowledge has been raised to such a high rank that no other worship or act of ibadah has been given such a high status. We don't have time to mention everything, but we'll mention a few points to get our motivation high, inshallah, before we start with the course. First and foremost, seeking knowledge is one of the greatest acts of worship that anyone can do. One of the best ways that you can get close to Allah and to secure a place in Jannah is to seek knowledge. What can be better than to learn about Allah, to learn about His Messenger, to learn about His religion? This is really how you show your love and your passion for Allah and for the Deen and for the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, is to dedicate yourself to studying the Deen, to study about Allah, to know more about Allah, to know more about the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. As the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, من سلك طريقا يلتمس فيه علما سهل الله له به طريقا إلى الجنة. Whoever takes a path seeking knowledge, then Allah will make his path to Jannah easy. So knowledge, first and foremost, in our intention, should be that we're seeking knowledge so that we can get to Jannah. Not seeking knowledge so we can get anything from the dunya, so we can get a status or a position or wealth or anything like that. Our intention, first and foremost, should be to seek knowledge so we can get to Jannah. Some of the scholars of the Salaf, even on their deathbed, if they heard a fa'idah, if they heard a benefit or a hadith, they would write it down. And the people around them would be shocked. How you're dying, you have moments left of your life. So why are you writing down knowledge at this time in particular? And this was because of the scholars of the Salaf, the true ulama. Their mindset regarding knowledge wasn't that they can, you know, spread it and they can be known as a scholar and they can have a position in people's eyes. Their mindset was they seek knowledge so they can get close to Allah. So every hadith they write down, every fa'idah that they write down is it's an extra good deed in the scales of good deeds, something which they could take them to Jannah. As it was said to Abdullah ibn Mubarak, and he was someone who was persistent in seeking knowledge, even throughout his life, even in his old age. He was someone who would continually seek knowledge. So the people were surprised by this. They said, "You've already become such a great scholar. People are already benefiting from you. So why do you continue to seek knowledge? Why are you continuing to write hadith, etc.?" So he said, رحمه الله, لعل الأثر الذي فيه نجاتي لم أكتبه بعد أو كما قال. Perhaps the hadith or the narration which will save me and will take me to Jannah, perhaps I haven't written this down yet. So once we have this type of mindset that we seek knowledge for the sake of Allah, we seek knowledge because we want to get to Jannah, we seek knowledge because this is one of the best ways for us to save ourselves from the punishment of the Akhirah, to save ourselves from the fire, then this is one of the greatest motivations to seek knowledge, and one of the greatest things which will make you consistent and perseverant in seeking knowledge. Because if this is your mindset and your end goal, you have the bigger picture in mind, that you want to make it to Jannah, you want to attain Allah's pleasure and get your sins forgiven. If this is your mindset, then you'll never give up on seeking knowledge. Even if you have to repeat something 100 times, even if you attend, even if we say hypothetically, if you attend a lot of classes and courses and you don't find that you benefited, your knowledge hasn't increased much, but you continue because you view this as an act of ibadah. You don't view this as just gaining information. If this is your mindset, then you'll always continue seeking knowledge until you die. So this is something which is very important, to have your intention rectified from the very beginning, so that your heart is pure. Any knowledge which comes into your heart, once it's in this pure state, then you can benefit from it. As for if your heart has worldly intentions or negative intentions, or you have diseases in your heart, the knowledge which you pour into your heart will get affected by that. Allah musta'an. And we ask Allah to guide us all to pure intentions and to purify our hearts. Another benefit of seeking knowledge is that you receive guidance from knowledge. If you're always focusing on knowledge and wanting to learn about Allah, learn about Prophet, learn about the Deen, what Allah has commanded and what has He prohibited, this is one of the best ways to attain guidance, because the biggest enemy of shaitan is knowledge, because shaitan can easily manipulate people who are ignorant. He can easily manipulate people who don't know about Allah, they don't know about the Deen, they don't know the tricks of shaitan. He can easily manipulate them and lead them astray. As for someone who knows what Allah has sent down, who knows what the Prophet ﷺ has ordered, who knows the secrets and the gems of the Sharia, then this is someone who Allah will guide, inshallah, and it's someone who's much more difficult for shaitan to lead astray. As some of the Salaf said, فقيه واحد أشد على الشيطان من ألف عبد. فقيه واحد أشد على الشيطان من ألف عبد. One scholar is more troublesome on shaitan than 1,000 worshippers. Imagine 1,000 worshippers who have freed themselves to worship Allah, to pray, read Quran, dhikr, sadaqah, all the rest of that, compared to one scholar this one scholar is stronger against shaitan than all of these worshippers, because a scholar knows the intricacies of the Sharia. He knows the details of what Allah has sent down and the guidance which Allah sent down, and he knows how shaitan works. Because Allah hasn't just left us with no guidance, hasn't left us with no direction. Allah has told us exactly what shaitan is trying to do to us and how to avoid that. Whereas someone who isn't busy with seeking knowledge, even if they're busy doing something good like ibadah, if they don't have knowledge accompanying that, then they will be less aware of the traps of shaitan, and they'll be more prone to slipping up and falling astray. Likewise, knowledge, it gives you a better understanding of life in general. If you study the deen, as Allah says, وَنَزَّلْنَا الْكِتَابَ تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. We've sent down the book as an explanation for everything. As Allah has explained everything that we need to know in our lives in the Quran. And once you delve deeper into the Quran and into the Sharia in general, it gives you a much better understanding of life in general. This helps you to stay firm. It helps you to organize your priorities, to see what is important and what is not important, because you can see things from the lens of wahi, from the lens of revelation, rather than just focusing on people's opinions or your own efforts or your own intellect. Instead of that, you have guidance from the Creator Himself, who can help you understand, which can help you understand life in general. Likewise, we mentioned the hadith, من سلك طريقا يلتمس فيه علما سهل الله له به طريقا إلى الجنة. Whoever takes a path seeking knowledge, and Allah will make his path to Jannah easy. This shows us that the easiest path to Jannah is to seek knowledge. The easiest path to Jannah is to seek knowledge. Because once you're seeking knowledge, even if in the beginning you don't implement it, even if in the beginning you still have shortcomings, and perhaps even your intention isn't right in the beginning, but if you continue seeking knowledge, then knowledge will force you to act upon that knowledge. It will force you to purify your heart and to purify your intentions. Al-Hasan al-Basri, he says, طلبنا العلم لغير الله فأبى العلم إلا أن يكون لله. We sought knowledge for other than Allah, but knowledge refused except to be for Allah. Meaning, even if in the beginning you have shortcomings, you still have sins, you still have bad intention, but if you continue seeking knowledge, then the knowledge itself, because knowledge is light, knowledge is a pure thing which Allah has sent down. Knowledge will rectify you. It will force you to correct your intention, and it will force you to implement that knowledge. Sometimes shaitan whispers to some students of knowledge, he says to them that you've studied some things, you've sought some knowledge, but you haven't implemented it, so you should stop seeking knowledge. This is one of the strongest whispers and doubts that shaitan throws upon students of knowledge. And the reality is that shaitan is only saying this because he wants you to stop seeking knowledge, because shaitan hates knowledge and he hates people who seek knowledge. But even if you have shortcomings, even if you studied many things, you learn a lot, but you haven't implemented it yet, then you should continue seeking knowledge, because the more knowledge you gain, the more inclined you will be to act upon that knowledge. And the more you persist in seeking knowledge, the more knowledge will guide you and force you to implement that knowledge. Likewise, someone who's seeking knowledge is always looking to improve themselves. Someone who's seeking knowledge is always learning about their aqidah, learning about Allah, learning about the deen, always looking how they can improve their relationship with Allah, how they can follow the Prophet better, how they can improve their akhlaq and their manners, how they can improve their ibadah, how they can improve their dealings with the people, how they can improve their heart, etc. Even if you don't want to, because when you're seeking knowledge, this knowledge is something which is pure, which has come down from Allah, and which the Prophet ﷺ has left for us. So even if you're studying something which perhaps you don't think is related to self-improvement, And because this knowledge isn't just information, it's guidance. Every part of knowledge, even Arabic language, even something like inheritance law, etc., even Arabic grammar, all of these things, they will guide you to improving yourself and rectifying your flaws. Another virtue of knowledge is that knowledge has a sweetness. It has a sweet taste, which, wallah, to be honest, I can't describe, because you can only understand what I'm talking about if you taste it yourself. And you're all students of knowledge, so I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about. When you're seeking knowledge, when you're in a gathering of knowledge, a circle of knowledge, when you're reading the statements of the ulama, etc., you find some strange sweet taste which you never find anywhere else. You find this type of tranquility, which you can never find anywhere else, even if you have all of the desires or temptations of dunya. When you follow your desires, or when you have the glitz or the glamour of the dunya, you feel some sort of sense of emptiness inside. But with knowledge, it's different. The knowledge is different. You find this sweetness which you can't find anywhere else. As Ibn Taymiyyah says, إن في الدنيا جنة من لم يدخلها لم يدخل جنة الآخرة. That there's a Jannah in the dunya. That whoever doesn't enter this Jannah will not enter the Jannah of the Akhirah. Meaning there's a Jannah in the dunya of being close to Allah, having the tranquility and the sweetness of Iman, the sweetness of knowledge. This is similar to what you'll experience in Jannah. So if you don't have this experience in the dunya, then most likely you won't have that experience in Jannah in the Akhirah. And we mentioned the statement of Ali, that knowledge is more valuable than anything material. This is 100% true, because knowledge is something which Allah selects who He gives it to. As for money, material things, then anyone can have these things. Anyone can be rich. You could go to a homeless person right now, and if you gave them £1 million or $1 million, just by them receiving that money, they would become a millionaire. Just by, even though 2 minutes ago they were homeless. But you can't go up to someone and just give them knowledge and they become a scholar. You can't just give them knowledge and they become a student of knowledge. You can't just give someone books and they become knowledgeable from that. To attain knowledge, it requires, number one, it requires Allah to choose you to be from the people who carry knowledge, and it requires from yourself. It requires you to put in that effort. You to take the steps which will lead you to gaining that knowledge. As the Prophet ﷺ said, وإن الأنبياء لم يورثوا دينارا ولا درهما وإنما ورثوا العلم. That the prophets, they didn't leave behind any gold or silver. They only left behind knowledge. So anyone can inherit money, can inherit properties or material things, but not everyone can inherit knowledge. This is something which Allah chooses, and it requires, secondly, from a person to take the steps and to put in the effort to be able to gain that knowledge. It's not something which can just be bought or sold. It's something which requires effort. As the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا الْعِلْمُ بِالتَّعَلُّمِ. That knowledge is only through learning. If you don't make the efforts to learn, then you won't gain knowledge. This shows us that the conditions to be able to carry knowledge are higher than the conditions to be able to carry wealth. Because to be wealthy, there's no conditions. Anyone can be wealthy, even if someone was poor or homeless. If they're given wealth, they become wealthy. But to be able to gain knowledge, you first of all require pure intention. It requires you to put in the efforts, and it requires a tawfiq and success from Allah before everything else. Likewise, knowledge, it is without doubt the most rewarding, beneficial thing that anyone can do. The benefits, rewards of knowledge are countless, and we don't have time to mention all of those, but it's enough just to mention the hadith, which some scholars say the hadith is da'if, but the meaning is correct, inshallah. But in hadith, الدنيا ملعونة ملعون ما فيها إلا عالما ومتعلما وذكر الله وما والاها وذكر الله وما والاه. The dunya, the worldly life, is cursed. Everything in it is cursed, except for a scholar and a student, and the remembrance of Allah, whatever is related to that. We see this in our own lives, that if you pursue the dunya, the material world, you never feel content. You never really feel content. But that contentment, you do find that contentment when you study the deen, when you sit with a scholar, when you do something related to remembering Allah, or likewise. It shows us that the true benefit and the true reward that we can get in the dunya is from these three things. From benefiting from scholars, or studying ourselves, or remembering Allah and anything related to that. Likewise, knowledge raises your ranks in the dunya and the akhirah. Raise your ranks in the dunya and the akhirah. Perhaps someone doesn't have a high rank in the dunya, or the people look down on them, but Allah raises them through knowledge, and He raises them as well in the akhirah through knowledge. It was mentioned that Umar ibn Khattab, when he was Khalifa, when he was the ruler of the Muslims, he had someone who he appointed to take care of the Hijaz region, like Mecca and Medina. So he asked this person, "Who did you make in charge of Mecca? Who did you make the ruler of Mecca?" He said, he mentioned the person's name, and Umar didn't recognize. He said, "Who is he?" He said, "He's someone who was a freed slave." Umar was shocked. He said, "Mecca, the most pure, most important, most sacred place in the whole world. You've made a free slave the ruler of Mecca." He said, "Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, O leader of the believers, he is someone who has memorized the Quran and he knows inheritance law." So Umar, when he heard this, he accepted it, and he said that the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned the same in the Prophet ﷺ, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَرْفَعُ بِهَذَا الْكِتَابِ أَقْوَامًا وَيَضَعُ بِهِ آخَرِينَ. Indeed, Allah will raise through this book people, and He will put down other people. Meaning, whoever learns the Quran, understands it, implements it, seeks knowledge and gains knowledge, then Allah will raise him. As for someone who turns away from the Quran, turns away from ilm and from the deen, then Allah will put them down. And even if the person who Allah raised, even if initially they were someone who didn't have any rank in the dunya, then Allah will raise them. Likewise, if someone who turns away from the Quran, turns away from the deen and from knowledge, even if they were someone who had a high ranking in the dunya, but they turned away from Allah and the remembrance of Allah, then Allah will put them down. And we see this in our lives, that we have such a high level of respect for scholars, for people who are spreading the deen and teaching us. Whereas perhaps in the beginning they came from very humble backgrounds, and the same can happen to any of us. But if we have good intentions, we want to seek knowledge for the sake of Allah and benefit the people, then Allah can raise our ranks in the dunya and the akhirah. And likewise in the akhirah, inshallah, people of knowledge will have high ranks, as I believe Imam Ahmad or Abu Hanifa mentioned. He said, إِذَا لَمْ يَكُنْ الْعُلَمَاءُ أَوْلِيَاءَ اللَّهِ فَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ وَلِيٌّ. That if it isn't the scholars who are the close people of Allah, the people who are considered wali, then Allah doesn't have any close people. Meaning that the people who are most deserving to be considered awliya of Allah, to be considered the close people of Allah, are the scholars, because they're the people who know Allah the best. They understand what Allah wants from them, and they've implemented that as well. As Allah says, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاء. The only people who fear Allah from His servants and worshippers are the scholars. This is due to their knowledge, of what Allah wants from them, the knowledge of Allah Himself and the Sharia in general, which puts them in a position to worship Allah in a much better, in a form which is of much higher quality. Likewise, knowledge it develops numerous skills, and it keeps your mind sharp, because you're always studying, you're always learning, you're always looking to benefit yourself and to improve yourself. And it allows you to benefit the people as well. It allows you to benefit yourself first and foremost, and later on, it allows you to benefit the people. And you never know, Allah, you never know. There's something which you're learning, one statement you make, one nasiha you give to someone, it could change someone's life. It could help them solve a problem they're going through. It could help save them from a calamity they're facing with the permission of Allah. And much more important than that, much better than that, it could help someone rectify their deen. It could help them come out to the deen, to fix their salah, fix their relationship with Allah, to improve their tawheed and their worship of Allah alone. And someone could enter Jannah because of something you taught them or something you said to them. And likewise, you get the dua of people. If you benefit the people, if you help guide the people and show them to what benefits them, you get the dua. Get the dua because of what you have done to help them, with the permission of Allah, of course. And you never know, someone may have a close relationship with Allah. Maybe they make dua for you, and their dua gets accepted. This is really what stays. It's really what stays, because anything material we have is gonna go away. It's gonna perish, or we're gonna leave it once we die. But what really stays is what we have left for the akhirah. And your ibadah, your worship of Allah, which you do by yourself, this is, you benefit from it. But once you pass away, this is gonna stop. But if you benefit other people, then this benefit will stay even after you passed away. And if that person teaches someone else, passes on this benefit to someone else, then it's going to continue. And you'll continue receiving that reward even after you've left this dunya. And so this is one of the greatest investments you can make, is to seek knowledge and to spread the knowledge to help benefit the people. Likewise, the Ummah right now is going through a lot of problems. We see Muslims being persecuted, Muslims being tortured and massacred all over the world. And on the flip side, Muslims in places where there is safety and security, they're suffering from different ideologies of liberalism and feminism and secularism and all the other ideologies, and the other Muslims who are falling short regarding their deen, having doubts, etc. So what can we do about that? What can we do to help the Ummah and to help serve the Ummah? Well, the greatest service that you can do for the Ummah is to seek knowledge. That is the greatest service you can do, because the problems that we're all facing is due to ignorance. It's due to ignorance. It's due to not understanding the deen properly. And because we don't understand the deen properly, we don't act on it properly. We don't implement it. But if we were to understand it, and we were to truly comprehend the greatness of the Sharia and the importance of it, and we were to implement it, then many of the problems we see would go away. So therefore, the greatest service that one of us can do for the Ummah, to help the Ummah and to help all of the brothers and sisters suffering in different parts of the world, is to seek knowledge and to spread that knowledge, and to help enlighten the people and guide them to the guidance which Allah has sent down. And once you've spread knowledge and taught the people, you get rewarded for what they do. They get rewarded, of course, and you get rewarded as well, without that reward diminishing for them. As the Prophet ﷺ said, دل على خير فله مثل أجر فاعله. Whoever points towards goodness, then he will have a reward similar to the one who does it. So you could get rewarded for actions you didn't do. If you teach someone the Fatiha, if you teach someone the Quran, how to pray, then they could pray many salawat, many extra nafil salah, which you didn't pray yourself, but you get rewarded for that because you taught them. As the ulama say, ليست أجور المجاهدين والقائمين إلا في صحائف العلماء. That the reward of the warriors for the sake of Allah, and the people who stand at night and worship Allah, their reward is in the scrolls of the good deeds of the ulama, because it was the ulama and the scholars and the students of knowledge who taught them how to do that. It was therefore shows us the one of the biggest investments you can make is to seek knowledge and to spread that, because there are many acts of goodness, many acts of righteousness which we should be doing, but perhaps we were not able to do all of them. But if you teach the people, then they can perform these actions, and you can get rewarded because you taught them even if you don't necessarily do it yourself. Likewise, one of the most important benefits of seeking knowledge is that it clears doubts and helps you stay firm. It means you don't get confused by everyone who comes with a new doubt, with a new theory, etc. You stay firm because you know what Deen is calling towards. You know the true and authentic and pure guidance of the Sunnah. So you stay firm upon that, rather than getting confused every time someone comes up on social media or brings in a new idea. You don't get confused by that, which is one of the most important benefits of seeking knowledge, especially in this time and age, especially for people living in the West, because we see so many people coming out on social media doubting about parts of the Deen, bringing crazy ideas, and a lot of lay people, a lot of people who don't have knowledge of the Deen, they fall astray, and they follow these people. As for someone who has been enlightened by the light of knowledge, then they can, inshallah, stay firm and not fall astray with the general masses. And it also means you don't get influenced by trends or popular culture. It means that when you're seeking knowledge, you're trained to think critically about the world around us. And you're always looking for the truth, rather than just following uh, whatever is popular or whatever the general masses are following. طيب, regarding learning Arabic specifically, then it has many benefits and many virtues, again, which we don't have time to talk about all of, but we'll mention a few to increase our aspirations and motivation to study Arabic in particular. First and foremost, Arabic, it is the key to knowledge, it's the door to knowledge, because the Quran is revealed in Arabic, Sunnah is Arabic, the Sahaba, they all spoke Arabic, the ulama, they all spoke Arabic, all the books were written in Arabic. The knowledge of Islam is in Arabic. Arabic is the language of Islam. It's not the language of Arabs in particular. It's the language of Muslims. It's the language of Islam. And the only reason the Arabic language has survived all of these years, over 1,000 years, is because of Islam. Otherwise, it would have died out like all of the other classical languages. So if you want to seek knowledge, if you want to dedicate yourself to seeking knowledge, then we have to know Arabic. And likewise, Arabic is the most eloquent language. It's the most eloquent language, and it's the best language, because it's the language which Allah has selected for His Deen and selected for the Quran. And the language itself is a miracle. Wallahi, the Arabic language is a miracle. When you see the structure of the language in its rules and its principles in terms of the grammar, as well as everything else in terms of the vast vocabulary, this language is miraculous in itself. And learning this language will develop your intellect, will develop your personality as well. And the most important aspect of the Arabic language is that it is the language which has been chosen for the Quran, which is why the Arabic language has been influenced by the Deen, by the Quran specifically. All of the books of Arabic grammar, they've all been influenced by the Quran. So the more you learn Arabic, the more you understand the Quran and the Sunnah. The language is very rich in wisdom. You'll find benefits from scholars in Arabic, which you could never find or benefit from in another language. Particularly the Quran, it can never be translated entirely into another language. We can only try and interpret the meanings and convey some of them in another language. But there's no such thing as translating the Quran, because the Quran is very rich in its language, in its linguistic power. That there are so many things which you could never understand, never comprehend from the wisdoms and gems of the Quran, unless you were to read it and understand it in the original language. And once you do understand the secrets and the gems of the Quran in Arabic, this will have an extraordinary impact. It will have an extraordinary impact on your life, because these are benefits and wisdoms and powerful linguistic tools which can't be understood in any other language. Likewise, studying Arabic will broaden your horizons in your life. It will open doors and opportunities that you never expected. You may have, in terms of seeking knowledge, you'll be able to study with the scholars directly. You'll be able to, you'll be able to go and meet the scholars themselves. You'll be able to access books of the scholars, which you wouldn't be able to do if you don't have the language. Likewise, it will open doors to benefit people. You may be able to translate knowledge, translate books, or translate for scholars, and help guide the people and to teach them the deen. Learning Arabic will also make you independent because you can go straight to the sources, go straight to the Quran, the Sunnah, see what the scholars said themselves, meaning you're not reliant on anyone else. No one can lead you astray. No one can abuse your lack of understanding of the Arabic language. Because if you have the Arabic language, you can look at the sources directly, and then you can see if anyone is calling you to what is in line with the guidance of the Quran and the Sunnah and the understanding of the Sahaba or not. And likewise, learning Arabic will increase your iman. Will increase your iman because this is one of the greatest acts of worship that you can do. Because learning Arabic is one of the most important aspects of seeking knowledge. And seeking knowledge, as we mentioned earlier, is one of the best actions you can do. And the more you do righteous actions, the more your iman goes up. The more your iman goes up. The way your iman goes up by doing righteous actions, and it goes down by committing sins and the likes. So you'll find that your spirituality will increase. You'll have a stronger relationship with Allah if you can make dua to Allah in Arabic. That's a completely different experience than to make dua in a different language. If you can understand your statements in the salah, you can understand what you're reading from the Quran, this will have an extraordinary impact in your iman. And you'll be able to understand the deen in its pure form, because a lot of what is presented in English of the deen is, to be honest, is watered down. It's influenced by the Western environment. A lot of times it's influenced by the different ideologies. A lot of times things are missed out, things aren't mentioned to a Western audience or in the English language because of the circumstances and the environment that we live in. But if you have the Arabic language, you see the pure deen, you see the pure Quran, the pure Sunnah as it was sent down, without being influenced by any other ideologies. And this in turn will impact your practicing, your level of practicing, and will help you practice the deen properly, because you can see the true deen as it was sent down, as it was understood by the Sahaba and their students. Once we've understood all of these points and more, it's important that it's clear that every Muslim must have a relationship with the Arabic language, because this is the language of Islam. And, it's very difficult to make do without the Arabic language. So every single Muslim should have a relationship with the Arabic language. I believe every single Muslim should try and learn what they can from the Arabic language, even if it's a little bit. As for students of knowledge, people who want to dedicate themselves to seeking knowledge, want to dedicate their lives to seeking knowledge, then for them, the Arabic language is essential. You can never be a scholar, you can never become a scholar or a well-grounded student of knowledge, except if you don't have the Arabic language. And I have a controversial opinion. Perhaps some of you may disagree, but I believe, to be honest, that learning Arabic is much better than memorizing Quran. A lot of times, brothers or sisters may only be able to do one of the two: either learn Arabic and dedicate themselves to it, or memorize the Quran. But in my opinion, learning Arabic is much better than memorizing the Quran. Because once someone memorizes the Quran, for example, if someone was to memorize the Quran with all of the recitation, the qira'at and everything, but they didn't understand any of it, then the benefit that they get from that memorizing will be much less than someone who learned the Arabic language and they can understand the Quran. They can understand what Allah is saying to them. and in turn act upon it, even if they haven't memorized it. As Allah says, كتاب أنزلناه إليك ليدبروا آياته وليتذكر أولو الألباب. That this Quran is a book which we have sent down to you, to the Prophet ﷺ, so that they could ponder upon its verses, and that the people of intellect could reflect. How could you ponder upon the verses of the Quran or reflect if you don't understand it? So I believe that if there's a clash between memorizing Quran and learning Arabic, then learning Arabic is much better, much more beneficial than learning or than memorizing the Quran. And in reality, that there's no clash between the two. But you can memorize Quran and learn Arabic at the same time. It's best to do both. The more you learn Arabic, the easier memorizing Quran will be, and the more you memorize Quran, the easier Arabic will be. But if it's either this or that, the learning Arabic is much more beneficial than to memorize the Quran. And we see the Sahaba, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, not all of them were Hufaz, not all of them had memorized the Quran in its entirety, but every single one of the Sahaba was an expert in the Arabic language. They all understood the Quran in its entirety. They understood all of the gems and the secrets and the wonders of the Quran, which allowed them to act upon it and to implement it in their lives. And that allowed them, that's how they conquered the world. That's how they destroyed the major empires of the time, the Persian Empire and the empires of Rome, etc., is because they understood the Quran and were able to understand it and implement. Even though all of them memorized the Quran. طيب, that's a brief introduction on the importance of seeking knowledge and learning Arabic in general. Now to how to learn Arabic itself. Um, in truth, learning Arabic is very simple. It isn't as complicated as people may think. To be honest, if I was to summarize it, all you need is three things: learn vocabulary, learn some grammar, and then immerse yourself, practice, and keep practicing until you get the hang of it. Just have to learn vocab, learn grammar, and practice. But if we were to talk about more practical steps, I would say that there are, you could say, seven steps to learning to learning and perfecting the Arabic language. First step is to have ikhlas, to have a sincere intention, that you don't do it to be known or to show off or to get any position in the dunya. You do it sincerely for the sake of Allah. And a lot of times people may gloss over this step of ikhlas, but in reality it has a much bigger impact than we may realize, because the intention is what determines the action. So if you have a strong intention, a pure intention, then Allah will support you and facilitate ways to learn Arabic and perfect it, more so than someone who didn't have a strong intention. And the dunya, the worldly life, is short. It ceases and comes to an end. So someone who intends dunya through knowledge or through learning Arabic, then their intention will also eventually will come to an end, that they will eventually may not continue. As for someone who intends the akhirah is eternal and it doesn't stop. Then if someone intends the akhirah with the seeking of knowledge and learning of Arabic, then inshallah they will also be persistent and consistent in the pursuit of knowledge, and they won't stop, because they're aiming, and that the aim is to reach something which is eternal. So they won't stop in the pursuit of that eternal reward. Second step is also very important, is dua. Dua is extremely important for a student of knowledge and very important for a student of the Arabic language. You should always beg Allah at all times to teach you the Arabic language, using the ways of the different means of increasing your dua's likelihood of being accepted, such as using Allah's names and attributes, especially the ones related to knowledge, like Al-Alim, the all-knowing, Al-Khabir, the most informed, etc. You use these names, Ar-Rahim as well, the most merciful, Al-Wahhab, the one who the most giving. And you use these names to beg Allah to grant you knowledge, to teach you the Arabic language. And you make the most of the times when dua is accepted, such as in your sujood. A student of knowledge should be making dua and begging Allah in every single sujood, that Allah teaches them and guides them and grants them beneficial knowledge. Likewise, in the salah before they say salam, that's another time when dua is accepted. After the adhan, before the adhan, between the adhan and the iqamah, when it's raining, it rains a lot in the UK and many countries where some of the followers are from. So make the most of this. This is a blessing which we should make the most of. Every time it rains, make a dua, even if it's short. Likewise, when you're traveling on the Friday, the last hour of Friday, etc. When you drink Zamzam, etc., you should always be begging Allah that He teaches you the Arabic language and grants you beneficial knowledge. And as we know, that one of the conditions of dua being accepted is that you don't lose hope. You don't say that Allah won't accept my dua. So you always beg Allah, and you have certainty that Allah will accept your dua. And then you take the means. You take the means as well, and you'll definitely see positive results. The third step is to find a teacher. To find a teacher. It's very rare to find someone who's learns Arabic just by themselves. And even if they have, then it takes a longer time and takes a lot more effort than if you were to have a teacher. Especially learning Arabic itself, in particular, it's not like the other sciences, because Arabic is something which it needs to be conveyed to you from someone who has studied the language and has understood it, so that you can avoid mistakes, so you can understand the language properly. And the teacher can also guide you to the easiest and quickest ways of learning and perfecting the language. Therefore, I would advise brothers and sisters to avoid self-paced programs. There's a lot of programs now online which are self-paced, where you just have a number of recordings and you just follow them by yourselves. But I would advise against that, because the majority of people who join these types of programs, they end up dropping out, or they end up quitting, unless this program has things in place which help you stay consistent as actual interaction. As for just studying by yourself, this is, most people will study for a few weeks or a few months, and then they'd stop. But as we'll mention later on, that consistency is essential for learning Arabic. It's very important for learning Arabic. One of the best ways to stay consistent is to have a teacher, and it helps you understand better. You can ask the teacher questions, etc. Fourth step is to learn vocabulary. So find a teacher, and find a teacher who can teach you vocabulary. Because the vocabulary is really the meat of the language. It's the most important part of the language, as opposed to grammar. Grammar is something which once you've learned vocabulary, helps you improve your vocabulary and helps refine the vocab. As for if you just have grammar with no vocab, then you don't benefit from that. As the scholars say, that grammar or nahu is like salt in food. Meaning, if you just have salt with no actual food, then you'll benefit nothing from that salt. If anything, you'll be harmed by it. But if you have the main food and you add some salt on top, then you enjoy that food. Likewise, Arabic, we should focus on vocabulary first. Then, once you have a good level of vocabulary, add some grammar on top, and you can benefit from that. You can benefit from that vocab more and benefit from the grammar more as well. If you were to look at Arabs, for example, Arabs now, the reality is that most Arabs in the world right now don't have very good understanding of grammar. In actual fact, non-Arab students are much better in grammar than Arab students. But that said, see, the Arabs or Arab students, their understanding is much better than most non-Arabs, because they have the advantage of more vocab. Whereas someone may know a lot of grammar, but if they don't have a lot of vocabulary to accompany that, then their knowledge of grammar doesn't really benefit them. And the best way to learn vocab is to study a book which is designed to teach non-Arab students. There are many books, Medina books. There's the Kitab al-Asasi. But the book I recommend is Arabiyyah bin Yadayk. Arabiyyah bin Yadayk is one of the best books to teach non-Arab students, and it's one of the best books which which teaches vocabulary and doesn't focus too much on grammar like some of the other books do. So if you study one of these books, but the correct way to study these books isn't just to take the vocab as it is in the book. So you study the book, and then you extract the vocab from the text. You extract each piece of vocabulary, and for each noun you take the singular and the plural and the meaning. And for the verbs, you take the full tenses, the past tense, present tense, future tense, as well as the meaning. If you extract the vocab in this way and learn it with its meaning, then you'll come out of studying this book with a great level of benefit, and you'll be able to express yourself, understand a lot in the Arabic language. The fourth step is to immerse yourself in the language. So now you've had a teacher, you've been studying vocab, you've been learning the vocab properly. Now you need to immerse yourself in the language to be able to develop what you've been learning. That is through listening to a lot in Arabic, reading what you can, trying to understand as much as you can, and also expressing yourself, speaking, trying to converse in Arabic using the vocab that you've been learning, and also writing, trying to write sentences and paragraphs in Arabic, and this will help. This immersion in the language will help develop everything that you've learned. Because studying a book like Arabiyyah Yadayk is one thing, but it doesn't necessarily mean you'll be able to understand things in Arabic. It doesn't necessarily mean you're able to speak in Arabic unless you take the extra step of immersing yourself, listening, reading, speaking, and writing. The fifth step, after you've learned vocab and got a good hold of the vocab, is to learn grammar. Grammar is very important. Please don't understand from what I said before that grammar isn't important. If anything, grammar is very important. It's one of the most important parts of the language. But when it's right to learn grammar, meaning once you've learned the vocab, then you learn grammar. Once you've got a good foundation of vocab, you add some grammar on top of that. Because grammar, it needs a lot of examples. It needs you to implement it on actual speech and actual text. So if you don't have vocabulary, it'll be difficult to do that. It'll be very difficult to do that. And grammar should be studied with a teacher as well, because it's a technical science. It requires you to understand things properly, and it also requires you to. The most important thing in grammar is application. It's not just theory; it requires application. And for you to have correct application, you need a teacher as well. So you learn the rules, but don't get too involved in the theoretical aspects, because the most important part of grammar is to implement it. And you should try and do this implementation, this practice with a teacher who can check if you've done it correctly or not. And the book that we recommend for grammar is Al-Ajrumiyyah, one of the best books of Arabic grammar. Try to study this book and understand what you need from the rules, but then focus on implementation and practical application of these rules. Especially looking at the grammar of the Quran. It's one of the best ways to solidify your grammar is to have a teacher, and you take, for example, a surah or one juz of the Quran, and you go word by word and analyze it grammatically, and the teacher can tell you if it's right or not. It's one of the best ways to solidify your grammar after you've studied a book like Al-Ajrumiyyah. The sixth step is to study morphology, also known as sarf. This is more related towards the makeup of words themselves. Once you have a good bank of vocab, you have some nahu, some grammar, then if you add some sarf and morphology on top of that, it helps develop your understanding and perfection of the Arabic language. And the seventh step and the final step, which is something which never stops and will continue for the rest of your life, is to continue to immerse yourself in the language as much as possible. So now you've had the basics, you've had vocab, you've had grammar and some sarf, morphology. Now you need to continue immerse yourself in the language every day to try and speak as much as you can, read as much as you can, write, listen as much as you can. And the more you do so, the more your language or your understanding and fluency in Arabic will develop. طيب, those are the steps in terms of how to learn the Arabic language. Now, regarding the student of Arabic himself or themselves, what are the attributes and what are the essential characteristics and traits of a student of the Arabic language? A student of Arabic, first of all, needs to have dedication. Needs to be someone who takes it seriously, who makes seeking knowledge and learning Arabic one of their main priorities in their life. Because if your mind is in 100 different places, if you're playing squash every Thursday and you're learning IT part-time and you're doing a degree and you're working 3 jobs, and every time someone calls you to go out, you go out, and you need to have a holiday every 2 months, then your mind is going to be in different places. It's not going to be focused on anything. It's not going to be focused on learning Arabic, especially. So to be able to learn the Arabic language, it needs a lot of dedication. It needs you to take it seriously and to prioritize it. Because, as we said, that learning Arabic itself is simple. It's simple. Learn vocab, learn grammar, and immerse yourself. But to be able to do all of that, the process is simple. But keeping it up, that requires. That's where the difficulty is. In staying consistent. That's where most people fall short. And if it was easy, then everyone would know Arabic. Everyone wants to learn Arabic, but one of the reasons that many people don't is because they don't have this dedication. They don't prioritize it and take it seriously. Al-Mutanabbi is one of the famous poets in Arabic. He says, he mentions a very powerful line. He says, لولا المشقة ساد الناس كلهم الجود يفقر والإقدام قتال. If it wasn't for difficulty, then everyone will be a leader. Generosity makes you poor, and going forwards to fight, it puts you at risk of dying. Meaning that, especially in the Asian Arabs, they're one of the most respected characteristics of people were generosity, and especially with your guests, and courage, especially in fighting in wartime, etc. But if you want to reach this high level, someone who's known to be generous, then that requires you to sacrifice your wealth to spend on your guests, etc. But in turn, you reach that high status. And if you want to be someone who is a courageous warrior, then you have to put yourself at risk of dying. If you don't, then you won't achieve that status. It says, لولا المشقة ساد الناس كلهم. If it wasn't for difficulty, then everyone would be a leader. If Arabic wasn't difficult, then everyone would know Arabic. But because it requires patience, it requires dedication. That's why not that many people end up learning the Arabic language. This point of dedication is one of the most important things in terms of learning Arabic. That whatever happens, you stay consistent, you stay persistent, you never give up, you always make dua, you always beg Allah to teach you, and you continue attending lessons and learning the vocab and learning the rules, etc., until Allah opens doors and you are comfortable with the language. And if I'm honest, alhamdulillah, I've taught many students in the past, but this one point is where most people fall short in terms of dedication. Because learning Arabic is possible for everyone, young or old, male or female, wherever you are, you can learn Arabic, but it requires dedication. It requires dedication. That whatever your circumstances are, whatever happens in your life, you continue, you don't stop, and you prioritize learning Arabic. And this is something which I will mention more of shortly, inshallah. The second essential trait of a student of the Arabic language is consistency. Consistency. As we mentioned, that Arabic the formula is simple: learn vocab, learn grammar, practice. But you have to stay consistent. If you do it for 1 week and then stop, if you do it for 1 month and stop, for 1 year then stop, you'll find that you're not really getting anywhere in the grand scheme of things. But it requires consistency. That you should ideally try and do something related to Arabic every day, whether it's attending a lesson, whether it's revising a lesson, whether it's memorizing the vocab or revising the rules, or just even something as simple as just watching a YouTube video in Arabic. Something you should be involved with the Arabic language every day on a consistent basis. and never stopping, so that you can eventually reach your goal. As the ulama say, or as a poet said, إنما السيل اجتماع النقط. That big flood or big river is just a collection of small drops of water which have come together to make a big flood or a big river. Likewise, they say that a mountain is just a number of small stones and small rocks which have come together to make a big mountain. So if you're consistent, always studying something in Arabic, even if it's little, then eventually you'll find yourself achieving great results in the long term. And as we said, that learning Arabic is a ibadah, is one of the best acts of worship. And the Prophet ﷺ said regarding ibadah specifically, أحب العمل إلى الله أدومه وإن قل. That the most beloved actions or acts of worship to Allah are those which are most consistent, even if they're little. And we should take this as a manhaj, or as a methodology in terms of learning Arabic and seeking knowledge in general, that we prioritize consistency over anything else. It's much better for you to stay consistent, doing a little bit every day, than to do, tons of study in one day, then to stop for a long time, then to do a lot more, then stop again. Consistency is the key. The third essential trait of student Arabic language is patience, and it requires a lot of patience. I don't think that you can just take a crash course and learn Arabic. And you see this online, people advertising for quick ways, quick shortcuts to learning Arabic. Just learn 60 words and you'll learn Arabic in a month, or take this course in however many months you'll be fluent in Arabic. The reality is that that's not really true. It's not really true. Arabic is an entire language. It requires you to spend a lot of time on it. It requires you to stay patient with it and not to rush. If you rush, then your results won't be as strong as someone who took the time to master things and then to develop themselves slowly and steadily. Sometimes students will say, I want to become fluent in Arabic in 6 months or in 1 year. But the reality is that it requires a lot more time. It requires you to spend a lot of time, a number of years, to be able to achieve your goals regarding Arabic. But if you follow the correct path and you are consistent and you're patient with this time, then it's only a matter of time until you reach your goals and until you see strong results. But you can't rush it. Everything will come in its time. And part of that is to of course have trust in Allah, and secondly to have trust in the program. We see a lot of brothers and sisters will join an Arabic course, studying, for example, Bayna. They'll study a few lessons, and then they say, I haven't benefited anything, so they'll drop out. And then join another course with another teacher, another book, and then do the same, and then do the same. And I know brothers personally who have done this. The reality is years go by and they haven't really achieved much. Whereas if they were to stay patient and to stay with one course, one book, and one teacher, and they were to stick with it and to perfect what they were studying, then that same time where they spent, switching from book to book, from teacher to teacher, they could have achieved a lot more. They could have achieved a lot more and achieved fluency, perhaps in that time. So perhaps, in your journey of learning Arabic, perhaps you'll study a number of modules or units from the book, and you don't feel yourself that you've achieved much. But the reality is that you have been building on your knowledge of Arabic, you have been improving, but because it's coming slowly and steadily, you haven't really felt it. But then a time will come when things will become a lot clearer to you, and this is due to the effort that you put in before, and due to everything that you studied beforehand. That's why I advise that anyone who's serious about learning Arabic is to finish the book. Finish the book. At the very least, finish Arabiyyah. It's three parts. We'll start with the first book, inshallah. Then, inshallah, we'll do the second and third part as well. At the very least, finish the book. If after you finish the book, you find that you haven't got to where you want to in Arabic, then do another course. But don't leave before you finished it. But I genuinely believe that someone who studies Arabiyyah and follows the steps that we mentioned, and follows this, the methodology that we'll follow in terms of perfecting the lessons and learning the vocab very well. I believe that someone who studies Arabic Bayna Yadayk, once they finish the entire course, they should be fluent in Arabic. They should be able to understand at the very least 80% of the Quran. They should be able to understand many hadith. They should be able to read books of Ibn Qayyim and understand 90%. But it requires patience in terms of sticking with the program, being patient with anything that comes in the way, any changes circumstances, always sticking with the program and finishing it. And if you finish it and follow the steps that we mentioned, inshallah, you'll see results which will be pleasing to you. Another essential trait of the student of Arabic is not to be shy. Even if you're naturally shy, then force yourself to open up for the sake of knowledge, for the sake of Arabic. And remember, this is ibadah. So even if you're putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation, for example, trying to string together a sentence in Arabic, and perhaps you're not sure if it's going to be correct or not, force yourself to do so. And remember that you'll be rewarded for doing that. That seeking knowledge is one of the best acts of worship, and you'll be rewarded for everything you do in the path of seeking knowledge. But the reality is that, especially with Arabic, it requires you to come out of your comfort zone. It requires you to ask questions if you're not unsure. It requires you to force yourself to start conversations with people. Even if you make mistakes, even if they laugh, then don't worry about it, because you're the one benefiting from that. And the final point I want to mention is perseverance. Perseverance in terms of being ready to dedicate yourself to this project in the long Arabic for the rest of your life. The Arabic language is a big ocean that no one can fully comprehend. As Imam Shafi'i said, اللغة العربية بحر لا يحيط بها إلا نبي. The Arabic language is an ocean which no one can really comprehend except a prophet. So it requires you to be ready to dedicate yourself and to commit in the long term. Regarding the format of these lessons, which we will be conducting, the focus will mainly be on vocab. So we'll take the text from Arabiyyah Bayna Yadayk. The book itself, we're not going to focus too much on the book, meaning we'll just take the text from the book, and then we'll extract the vocab from the book, and we'll go through the plural for every noun and the different tenses for every verb. That's so the book, we won't go every single thing. We won't go through every single thing in the book. We'll take the text, extract the vocab, then the main focus will be on the vocab. And there is a document which we will share after this, inshallah, which brings together all of the vocab or most of the vocab in the first book. It is best for you to have your own notebook, and for you to write the vocab yourself by hand during the lesson. That's best, because by writing by hand, you're just the action of writing will help you learn the vocab. It'll improve your understanding of the vocab and memorize it better, as opposed to if you just to read off it from the PDF. But if you're not unable to do that, if you're for whatever reason you don't want to, or you can't write the vocab by hand, then we'll share the PDF, and you can print it off and have it as like a workbook, and then you can see the printed vocab and memorize it from there. But it's best to have a physical copy. So whether you write by hand, have actual physical notebook where you write your vocab, or if you want to print off the document, you can do so. But make sure that you have a printed physical copy, which is which you take care of, put in a folder or bind, so that you can refer back to this, because this is this vocab. This is what's going to form your basis, the foundation in the Arabic language. Is something you want to be able to refer back to and benefit from now and in the future as well. And to make sure that whether you choose to have a notebook or print off the vocab document, make sure there's extra space, because we'll be taking extra vocab, which isn't in the document. So make sure you have space to write that. And we'll also be taking extra things, extra points which aren't in the book of Arabiyyah and are not in the workbook either. So make sure you have space to take these notes, because they're very important as well. It's not essential to have the book itself for Arabiyyah. You don't need to have it. The PDF is fine, inshallah, because as I said, we'll just be taking text from each lesson. So you don't have to buy the book if you don't want to. You don't have to print it off. If you have the PDF, that's enough, inshallah. But the book is beneficial. We'll share the PDF after this talk, inshallah. So do have the PDF to hand, save it somewhere where you can refer back to it for the lessons, and after the lessons as well, if you want to revise. It's very beneficial. The lessons at the moment will just be once a week, every Saturday. Then you have the whole week after that. You have until the next Saturday to learn all the content, to learn the vocab, and you will also take extra. Please prioritize learning, memorizing all of this, and having it mastered before the next lesson. That's very important, because Arabic language, especially in the beginning in terms of vocab, really it's all down to memorization. You can study. I know people have studied the whole series of Yadayk, but unfortunately they didn't really benefit because they didn't pay attention to the point of memorizing the vocab. So we'll only be taking one lesson a week. So inshallah there is time. You have the whole week until the next Saturday to learn the vocab and try to master the vocab. Try to repeat the vocab. I would say at least 30 to 50 times. If you do more, it's better. Each word. Have it really mastered so that in the future you have it already solidified. Whereas if you're to learn it, go through it quickly, then you'll forget it quickly as well. You have to come back and review and learn it again. So it's best to put extra time in the beginning, learn it properly, so that in the future you don't have to tire yourself out with doing a lot of revision and learning it again. And we will be doing tests, inshallah. Inshallah, after every lesson, we'll send a written test in the group. Once you've learned the vocab, if you could, we would like everyone to complete the test. You can write it by hand, or you can type it as well if you like, and then send your completed test to the group. So we have a group for brothers and group for brothers, group for sisters. Once everyone's completed their test, then send it in the group and we'll check it, inshallah. But the test will be closed book. So we want you to learn the vocab first. Then before the next lesson, do the test without looking at your notebook, and then we can correct any mistakes, inshallah, in the group. And inshallah, before the start of each lesson, we'll do a brief test, brief oral test of any vocab for anyone who wants to. Anyone who wants to either come on the mic or type, they can do that, inshallah. And I recommend everyone tries to make most of this as well. Because having someone testing you is one of the best ways to solidify your vocab, even if you get it wrong. And there's some vocab which I only really perfected and learned properly after my teacher tested me, and I got it completely wrong. But then, because I got it wrong in the test, that's how I remembered it. But this goes back to the point of shyness, that don't be shy to engage, to interact, to ask questions, to don't be afraid to make mistakes, because the more that you open up and you interact, the more you'll benefit, inshallah. And if you don't want to speak on the mic, then you can type your questions, you can type your answers in the chat, inshallah. The final thing which I mentioned in this talk is what I need from you, the students. I require only three things, inshallah. First thing is to attend the lessons on time. Try to make sure you make yourself available. Make sure, it's just one lesson a week. Try to make sure that the time of the lesson you're available, you're able to attend live in person in Zoom. And everyone is busy. Everyone's busy. I'm busy myself. The other admins are busy. All the students are busy. And you don't think that we're just sat here with nothing to do, so we start these lessons. Everyone is busy. But we should all try our best to make time for these lessons, so that we can benefit. I met Sheikh Muhammad Jan Tahiri in Mecca a few years ago, and the Sheikh said to me, said, if someone doesn't go to work, can they make money? And I said no. The Sheikh said, likewise, someone who a student of knowledge, if they don't attend the lessons, how can they gain knowledge? Especially in the beginning, most of your knowledge which you gain will be from attending lessons, from attending circles of knowledge. It requires a commitment, it requires dedication, as we mentioned. A serious student of knowledge should go out of their way to make sure that they can attend the lessons on time, every time. But the reality is that life does get in the way sometimes. Perhaps some people, for whatever reason, the time is not convenient. If it's absolutely not possible and you can't juggle things around, then catch up on the recording. Inshallah, the recordings will be shared as soon as possible. But make sure you catch up on the recording the same day, because delaying will only lead to procrastination. If you have the recording and you say, I'll catch up on it, tomorrow with another day, tomorrow could come and you become busy again, or you forget. So prioritize catching up on the recording the same day, so that you've got it out of the way. Then you've attended the lesson, you've taken your notes, and that's done. As for if you were to delay it, then there is a high possibility that you don't catch up. And if you do miss a lesson for whatever reason, make sure you attend the next one. Even if you haven't caught up on the previous one yet, make sure you do attend the next lesson, because this is one of the traps of shaitan, that he comes to a student who's maybe missed a lesson, then says, khalas, you haven't attended the first lesson, so I can attend the second one, so skip the second one as well. And then they end up leaving the program altogether. So prioritize attending lessons on time, even if you miss one or two or however many for whatever reason. Prioritize attending, and then make sure you catch up on the missed ones in your own time as soon as possible. A second thing I require from brothers and sisters is to pay attention during lessons, to ensure that you're in a quiet place with no distractions. Ensure that people you're living with are aware that from this time to that time you're busy with a lesson, and be ready to take notes. Have your notebook and or your document ready so you can take notes, and also be ready to engage. Inshallah, the lessons will be interactive. We'll be asking people to read sections of the book or the text. Then at the end, once we finish going through the vocab, we want to be hearing people read through all of the vocab to check if they've understood it properly, to check their pronunciation, etc. So I really want people to engage, and don't be afraid to make mistakes, as we said, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Well, I don't mind even if you ask 100 questions. Inshallah, I'll answer all of them. And if you leave the lesson and you think of other questions, then send them on the WhatsApp group, or send them privately on private message. I'm happy to see questions, and I'm happy to be of any help if I can. So don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't be afraid to engage, inshallah. Like I said, even if you ask 100 questions, even if it's any time of the day, midnight or before Fajr, inshallah, I'll answer it when I get a chance. If I don't answer, if I forget, then send a reminder. Inshallah, I'll answer that question. Some of the Salaf say that there's two people who don't gain knowledge: al-mustahi wal-mustakbir, the shy person and the arrogant person. The shy person, because they don't want to ask questions, they don't want to perhaps embarrass themselves, etc. So they refrain from asking questions, they refrain from engaging, so they're prevented from that knowledge. And the second person is the arrogant person. Arrogant person who says, "Who is this guy? What does he know?" They feel like they are too high to ask questions, or to sit in the circle of knowledge, or to ask someone. So they're prevented from the knowledge as well. So knowledge generally, especially Arabic, requires us to be humble. It requires us to not be shy. Not be shy. The final thing which I require from the students is to learn the vocab and the rules after every lesson. Attending lessons is good, but the lesson in reality will only give you 20 to 30% of what you need to learn Arabic. The rest of it's on you. Even if you have the best teacher, the best institute, the best book, learning Arabic at the end of the day is down to you, after the permission of Allah. It's down to you to sit down somewhere quiet and to memorize the vocab and memorize the rules. Whether you have, the most knowledgeable person in the world teaching you the best institute or the best book, at the end of the day, it's down to you. You attend the lesson, you get whatever benefit you can from that. And then it's down to you to learn the vocab. In whatever way is best for you. Whether it's just taking each word. For example, we might take the word house. So Bayt is one house. Buyutun is multiple houses. So you might sit down and say, repeat it 50 times. Baytun Buyutun house. Baytun Buyutun house. That may work for you. You repeat it 50 times or more until you master that word. Or you may want to use flashcards. That may work better for you. You may want to use apps which help test your memorization. Whatever works best for you. But I recommend at the very least spending 30 minutes a day memorizing vocab. Ideally 1 hour, but if 30 minutes is good, inshallah. So try to prioritize learning the vocab, mastering the rules after every lesson, so that you're working on things gradually. Try and do it between the lessons. You have a whole week. Try and use that week to learn the vocab. As for if you were to attend a lesson and then delay learning that vocab, then you attend the next lesson, then you're going to end up having a lot of vocab which you haven't learned yet. You're going to have to try and learn all that quickly. But if you take things gradually and slowly, as we mentioned, that Arabic requires you not to rush. It requires you to take your time. So you have a whole week. Use that week to learn that lesson. Then the next lesson, learn it after that, etc. That's better than cramming it all in one go. And also, I recommend, of course, we will be doing our tests in the group and in the lessons before we start each week. But try and have someone like a family member or a friend who can test you as well. So you've learned the vocab, then someone tests you. Then you go back and learn it again. Anything you forgot or made a mistake, and you can revise it and learn it again. And if you have any questions, and the group is always open for you to ask any questions, you can message me privately as well. Whenever you like, ask any questions, inshallah. That is what I wanted to mention today regarding how to learn Arabic. Inshallah, now we have time to answer any questions. As I said, feel free and don't be shy to ask any questions. If I know, I think the majority of you have had some experience studying Arabic before. So if there's anything you wanted to talk about or get advice regarding, now is your chance. Feel free to come on the mic. Or inshallah, we'll answer. If the admins can make sure that the attendees can send questions and come on the mic, and then anyone who has a question, then go ahead, inshallah. Or if you could raise your hand, then someone who raises the hand, we can allow you to come off mute, inshallah.
I think there's some questions in the chat.
Okay. طيب. When will the recordings be available? Inshallah. Inshallah, we'll try the same day. The same day. If the brothers could try their best to upload the recording straight after the lesson, so that people have it can refer back to it straight away. There's a course require us to know how to write Arabic prior. Yes, we do need you to be able to write in Arabic. So you can write the vocab, or if you can have the document, at the very least be able to read the document, to know the letters, to know the harakat, fath and dhamma, etc. You should be able to read those so that you can read from the book, the text, and also be able to read the vocab and memorize it, inshallah. Some brothers and sisters, they write the vocab in English, which isn't a good thing, because the letters in English are different. The pronunciation is different. So if you write it in English and memorize it in English, that's you're not going to be learning it properly. So we need you to be able to write in Arabic and to be able to read in Arabic as well. I mean, you don't have to be an expert, but the basics at least. Will this be learning by way of speaking, writing on both. It'll be, as we said, focusing on vocab. Then in the future, once we've got a good level of vocab, perhaps after we finish the first book, then we'll do some more exercises, inshallah. We'll do exercises of speaking and writing, etc., and listening as well. Yep. Can the teacher tell us a little bit about himself? والله يا أخي يعني it's not really my position to be talking about myself. يعني if you find that you benefit from the lessons, then مرحبا, we'll welcome you. But يعني I'm not really in a position to speak about myself. I'm just someone who's studied a bit of Arabic and would like to give back. يعني if it's essential for you, then perhaps you could speak to message some of the other admins. But يعني it's not my position to speak about myself. Let's say we have books like Hadith or Fiqh, like Umdat al-Ahkam wa Tashkil. Is it recommended for a layman to read this before that? Yes, of course. Of course, read these books. I recommend you to read as much as you can. Read anything in Arabic, especially something which has Tashkil, something which is related to the Deen, especially Quran and Hadith. Read these as much as you can, even if you don't understand a single word. But just exposing yourself to this will help in your journey learning Arabic. And inshallah, ya akhwat, inshallah, in this program we'll be taking most of the vocab which is in Umdat al-Ahkam, most of the vocab which is in the Quran as well. So always, if you always familiarizing yourself with the Quran and Hadith and books of scholars, then it'll make it easier for you to learn the vocab. And also, if you're constantly reading, then whilst going through the program, whilst learning the vocab, you'll find yourself understanding more. You find yourself picking up on more vocab as you go. Can we probably send questions on WhatsApp? Yes, send them to me, inshallah, or any of the admins, and they'll pass on to me, inshallah. Likewise, in the groups, we have a brothers group and a sisters group. Send your questions there as well if you like. Any tips on how I can learn to write? I know how to read. Just practice. Have like print off the alphabet, for example, print off something in Arabic and trace on top of it. Have another piece of paper on top and trace on top of it. There's many books which are designed to help you write Arabic. Try and benefit from those books, inshallah. عندي سؤال: هل الربيع بين يديك؟ هل العربي بين يديك أفضل من كتب المدينة؟ برأيي نعم. I believe the books of Arabic بين يديك are more suitable than the Medina books, but they're both good, both beneficial, inshallah. Will the lessons be visible to us during classes? Yes, inshallah, we'll share the screen. Whichever text we're studying in the book, we'll have that on the screen, inshallah. And we'll send you the PDF as well after this. We'll send you the PDF in the WhatsApp group. Do you recommend finding someone to speak to on a daily basis in Arabic, even if it is on WhatsApp or Facebook? Yes, I definitely recommend that. And it's best to find someone you can speak to in person. But if you can't, then to find someone who you can speak to online. This is what I did myself. I didn't have many people to speak in person. So I found people I could communicate with in Arabic on Zoom or WhatsApp and benefit a lot from that. I definitely recommend it. If I only have 1 hour to spare a day between reading the Quran and studying Arabic, what should I choose? You should choose Arabic, because reading the Quran is ibadah. And learning Arabic is seeking knowledge, which is more beneficial for yourself and others. But it's best to try and split it. So you spend 15 minutes on the Quran and you spend the rest on Arabic. Try to combine between the two if you can. But if you can't combine, then focus on Arabic. Because if you read the Quran, you benefit yourself. But if you learn knowledge, you benefit from that, and eventually you'll be able to benefit others through that knowledge as well. But as I said, in reality, I don't think there's a clash between the two. Have your ibadah, read the Quran, and learn Arabic as well. No. could you please elaborate more about the Nahwu and Sarf in Arabic? Or how is it important for us to, at the very beginner, or how is it important for us as the very beginner in learning Arabic? And which one should we study first, Nahwu or Sarf? As I said, for beginners, you don't need to worry about Nahwu or Sarf. That's later. Once you've learned some Arabic, once you learn a lot of vocab, then you can learn Nahwu and learn Sarf, inshallah. That's not important right now. We'll be taking some things in Nahwu and some things in Sarf as we go. But to study Nahwu properly and Sarf properly, that's after you've studied a book like Arabiyyah, Bayna, Yadayk, after you finish Bayna, Yadayk and you've learned all the vocab, then you study Nahwu and Sarf. But the Nahwu and Sarf are very important. They're very important, but they're not important right now. They're important later on. طيب, if anyone has to leave, لا بأس, inshallah. If anyone has any other questions, go ahead. Likewise, if you want to come on the mic and ask, you can do so as well. آمين وإياكم. خلاص, if anyone has any other questions, feel free to ask on WhatsApp. We'll be opening the groups, inshallah, after this. Jazakumullah khairan for your time, for listening. And inshallah, next week we'll be starting with lesson 1. طيب, question? In terms of learning Arabic to seek knowledge, how long is considered too long to be spending studying before moving on to the sciences? There's no such thing as too long because it depends. It depends on person. It's different from person to person. It really depends on your grasp of the language. If you're able to understand the majority of what's being said, was the majority of a hadith, for example, or even you don't need to necessarily be able to understand a hadith entirely or the Quran entirely. If you're able to understand the explanation of the ulama, that's what's important. If you're able to understand the majority of the explanation, then focus on that, on studying those sciences in Arabic. Because those explanations of the scholars, they will be explaining the Quran and the hadith, even what's difficult, they'll be explaining it, making it simpler, in a simpler form of Arabic. But if you haven't reached that level, you're not able to understand at least 60 to 70% of what scholars are saying, then focus on Arabic. Focus on Arabic until you can get to that level, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan. If anyone has any questions, send them on WhatsApp, inshallah. Inshallah, we'll see you next week. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.